Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Choudhary. As Rajasthan inches to elections in 2023, is the state turning into a communal minefield? And the question we ask this evening, will the citizens escape unhurt? I want to take you through, over the last exactly 30 days, what's been the chronology of hate in the state of Rajasthan. Take a look here, viewers. It all started with Karoli, but let's start right now. On the 5th of May, which was as back as just yesterday, as far back as that, masked men attacked two youth who were Muslims. They set the bike ablaze. This has been corroborated as a hate crime. May 3rd in Jodhpur, two communities clash on Eid at Jalori Gate. This is Jodhpur, and this was May 3rd. April 17th to April 18th, for 2 days, huge amount of strife in the town of Alwar over the demolition of a temple. April 17th and April 18th, 17th and 18th, Alwar again, action during an anti-encroachment drive. The VHP, BJP both take out Akrosh rallies. This was Alwar. April 2nd, Karoli, stones allegedly pelted at a bike rally on Ram Navami, which resulted in a massive communal flashpoint where Karoli was concerned. It led to clashes, to arson, shops and vehicles being set ablaze. This, viewers, was what happened in Karoli. It's only been 30 days and 4 instances of violence have taken place. I want to cut across to our guests, but before that, let's listen in to both what the BJP has to say and what the Congress has to say. The Congress on one point, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot says it's all because of the BJP. The BJP is adding fuel to the communal fire, and many instances like this will happen. Take a listen in to what Ashok Gehlot says, and then we're going to dip into what the BJP alleges.
देखिए, मैंने अभी करौली की घटना हुई थी राजस्थान के अंदर, तब भी मैंने कहा था कि करौली की घटना जब हुई है, जिस रूप में हुई थी, रामनवमी पे रात में शांति रही, परंतु देश के 7 राज्यों में मॉडल ऑपरेटिंग वही थी जो कि करौली में हुई थी। उसी घटना की पुनरावृत्ति हुई थी 7 राज्यों के अंदर। तो मैंने कहा था ये इनका प्रयोग है जगह जगह दंगे भड़काने का। शुरुआत करौली से करी है जी। वही बात देखा आपने कि जब अलवर के राजगढ़ में जो मंदिर तोड़ा गया, बीजेपी का बोर्ड था वहां पर, उनका प्रस्ताव पास किया हुआ था, तब भी ब्लेम किया गया कांग्रेस को। और तीसरी घटना जोधपुर के अंदर जो आज हुई है, बिना कोई कारण की हुई है, अफवाह फैला के हुई है। ये एक प्रकार से प्रयोग कर रहे हैं देश के अंदर किस प्रकार से हिंसा का माहौल बना हुआ है, उनको आगे कैसे बढ़ाया जाए। ये आप और हम लोगों को सोचना पड़ेगा। पूरे मुल्क में एक माहौल बन गया तनाव का, हिंसा का, बहुत खतरनाक माहौल है और पूरा मुल्क चिंतित है इस बात को लेकर के।
I'm going to play the reaction of the BJP and what the BJP has been alleging. The BJP says it's very clear that the Congress has lost the grip on law and order. I'm going to play the reaction of the BJP state president in just about a minute, but cutting across to my colleague Dev Ankur Vadhavan, who's joining us right now from Jodhpur, which continues to simmer till yesterday. There was curfew. Dev, what can you tell us? What are the latest developments? Over 130 people have been arrested, but there's also now been a reported flashpoint that has happened not very far from where you're standing, where 2 Muslim youth were harassed.
Well, so clearly the latest situation, Preeti, right now is that the simmering tension that was there, after that there is a certain amount of calmness that has been restored in the Jodhpur district of Rajasthan. It was earlier considered to be a peaceful city. What the police and the district administration has done today, about half an hour ago, was that it took out a flag march in the entire old city area, the area where which was the epicenter of the ruckus or the communal clashes that happened on May 3. Tomorrow, the Friday prayers will be held, and before that, the district administration wanted to instill some amount of confidence amongst people, and that is why that flag march was taken out. What the BJP, Preeti, is doing is that it really is not ready to let go of this entire issue. I'm calling it an issue because it is a political issue now in Rajasthan, and a big one before the assembly elections next year. JP Nadda, in fact, the BJP national president, will be arriving in Rajasthan. He will be here, here as in Sri Ganganagar and Hanumangarh, two of the districts where Nadda will be visiting on May 10 and 11. And before that, the BJP really feels that this is one issue that it can go to the people with and ensure that it becomes a rallying point for the anti-Congress forces in the state. Preeti?
All right, stay with me there. Let's cut into Satish Punya. He's the head of the BJP unit in Rajasthan, and this is what he alleges.
हर 32 किलोमीटर पे एक अफसर ट्रैप होता है, भ्रष्टाचार का पहाड़ खड़ा कर दिया, पूरे तरीके से अस्पताल बीमार हो गए, स्कूल लाचार हो गए, राजस्थान की आवाम में बिजली और पानी को लेकर त्राही है, और उसमें कोर्ट का खास ये किया कि राजस्थान में जितने आस्था के केंद्र हैं उन पर हमले होते हैं, बहुसंख्यक हिंदुओं पर हमले होते हैं। अशोक गहलोत की सरकार वोट बैंक और तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति के कारण आज दंगों की भट्टी में अशोक गहलोत की सरकार ने झोंक दिया।
All right. Appreciate you joining us there. We're going to come right back in a short while from now. The latest is, of course, that the BJP state president, JP Nadda, is going to be visiting Rajasthan. Expect fireworks, while already various regions of Rajasthan in communal strife. Let's cut across right now to our political panelists. Are we building up to a communal minefield as we count down to elections in Rajasthan, which take place next year? I have Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson Bharatiya Janata Party, Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson Congress. Adil, Ashok Gehlot says that many such instances will take place. There will be many more Karolis as you come down to elections. There will be many more Alwars, many more Jodhpurs. The fact is, what does it say about your own government? You can't control an Alwar, you can't control a Jodhpur, you can't control the latest incident of a hate crime which has happened in Baswara.
Well, Preeti, hate, violence and divisiveness are synonymous with the BJP. If you ask a BJP leader to give a speech where he should not mention Hindu-Muslim, there is nothing to the BJP. If you actually understand the BJP's history, if you understand their lexicon, all what they thrive in is on religious polarization. And Mr. Gehlot is right. Not just in the run-up to the Rajasthan elections, but you will see in the run-up to the 2024 general elections, BJP is sowing the seed of communal hatred in this country. And I've said this before and I'm going to repeat again. Today the onus is on the Indian citizen. He has to clearly decide which vision of India does he want to subscribe to. Does he want to subscribe to the BJP's vision of India, which follows an exclusivist model, which is modeled on majoritarianism and hate, or does he want to follow Mahatma Gandhi's model, which believes in inclusivity? And to take your observation further, as far as the state government is concerned, law and order is concerned, if we take that observation further, that would mean that Mr. Amit Shah and Narendra Modi miserably failed when the Delhi riots took place, because the Delhi police is under them. By the same yard, there was Modi and Mr. Amit Shah. So therefore, Mr. Gehlot is right. The BJP is aiding, abetting and encouraging such violence.
Mr. Boparai, you said the BJP...
In fact, the ideal thing to do it...
Okay, Mr. Boparai, you said the BJP represents writing, it represents communal strife. If you look at Rajasthan today, many would suggest then the Congress represents an abject administrative intelligence failure which continues to take place in city by city as each city burns.
Is that to me?
Yes, it is to you, sir.
Is it to me, Preeti?
Yes, Mr. Boparai, it is for you. It's your own state government and Congress.
Preeti, please understand. I perhaps, and if the state government, the right thing to do for them would be to put these BJP leaders under preventive detention. Because if these BJP leaders are in jail, there will be less violence in society. There will be less hate in society. Because this is what they thrive on. This is what they peddle. They have destroyed the social fabric of this country. Whether it's Madhya Pradesh, whether it's Uttar Pradesh, whether it is Delhi, whether it is anywhere. The point is we are following the rule of law. We don't want to lock up people merely
Adil Singh Bopura, the
on
solution to end communal strife cannot be to put BJP leaders in detention. You know, that's a bizarre way of looking at things. What about your own state? There is an abject administrative intelligence failure which took place in Jodhpur. Your government was there.
I'll tell you the
You
solution.
should have clamped curfew at night. You didn't do so till the next afternoon.
The solution to communal violence is number one, that the BJP should stop peddling hate. And number two, I think it is high time, and not just the Congress party, but all opposition ruled governments, wherever the BJP tries to spread hatred, tries to encourage violence, I think it is time to use the long arm of law. It is time to act under the contours, under the rigid contours of the IPC and the CRPC to prevent such a situation from happening. And all this is being done to deflect attention from the real issues. Look at the price of fuel. Will you hear a Tuhin Sinha or a JP Nadda talking about fuel? Will you hear them talking about employment? Will you hear them talking about inflation? Never.
I'd like to bring in Tuhin Sinha into this conversation. Mr. Sinha, the Congress says these are diversionary tactics. You do not want to face up and answer to what the reality is in terms of inflation, and all you're doing is adding fuel to the communal fire and aiding rumor mongering.
Good evening, Preeti. Preeti, the spate of riots that you have mentioned in your introductory remarks in Rajasthan, we have compelling reasons to believe that they enjoy the tacit and at times even the overt support of the Congress party in Rajasthan. Look at the ridiculous statements which the Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot has made in the last 3 days. Today he says that more of these riots would follow. Now, how is this statement different from what PFI made on the eve of Ram Navami riots, and what followed was what you saw? Till date, Matlub Ahmed, the chief accused, a person who was supporting Congress until that day, is not to be seen. He's absconding, whereas they've arrested 36 people, I don't know for what. Number two, the chief accused in Baran district riot was seen at the iftar party of the CM, Ashok Gehlot. Number three, at one point, Ashok Gehlot says, he shrugs off the Jodhpur violence and says, nothing major or nothing significant happened. Why? Because the victims were Manya, a lady called Manya, who was hit with rods, a guy called Deepak, who was stabbed with knives because he went out to buy medicines for his father. I mean, is this the attitude of the Congress party? And mind you, this is not a Rajasthan problem. Pan-India, the Congress party has taken a very, is catering to an Islamist audience. A Jharkhand minister virtually warns the Hindu community and says that aap 80% hai, agar kuch hoga to ghata ke liye aap taiyar ho jaiye. Is this the language which a Congress minister makes in Jharkhand? We have seen that immediately after Tawqir Raza made some very inflammatory remarks on the eve of Uttarakhand elections, how he was lapped up by the Congress party. One Congress MLA in Telangana calls for beheading of Jitendra Tyagi, and not a single responsible Congress leader condemned him. Is this the attitude of the Congress party? This is what is propelling these riots, and the Congress is, blaming the BJP for no reason.
Tuhin Sinha, if you're going to look at and count, provocative, bigoted statements made by political leaders on the eve of election, it's a tad bit rich. There's a league of instances that I can recount just in Uttar Pradesh that your leaders have made. So let's tear off that pitch, because none the richer. Possibly the BJP, at least in the recent past, could have a little more. But I'd ask you a question. You said that the Congress caters to the Islamic audience. 2 Muslim men have been beaten up. Their bike has been burnt. This has happened in Banswara. That's Rajasthan. Why would the government, who caters to an Islamic audience, attack the minority community then?
You need to understand the way we deal with people who create arson and violence. The main accused of in Jahangirpuri violence have all been charged under NSA. And I told you how how the main accused in Rajasthan riots end up at the Chief Minister's iftar party. So if you soft pedal these elements, somewhere they will initiate violence which will be retaliated. It's a trend. It's a message which you are sending that we will be soft. Look at the Jodhpur riots itself. We have.
Are you in any which way, Mr. Sinha? Are you in any which way justifying the beating, the assault of these 2 young Muslim boys? Are you justifying that?
Not at all.
Because there's a reaction. You said there will be a reaction to it.
If the police,
it's highly worrisome if you are.
If the police responds with unusual lethargy, which it has done in all of these cases, eventually when your house is being attacked somewhere, the community which is being attacked will retaliate. I'm not justifying it at all. It is a very sad thing that the police in Rajasthan has failed to arrest this violence. Had they promulgated, Section 144 on the eve of Eid, and they had reasons to do that, I don't know why they did not do that.
The reasons I will tell you, Mr. Tuhin Sinha, was rumor mongering, which was abetted by your own mayor of Jodhpur. But I'll take your question to Adil Singh Bopara as well. Adil Singh Bopara, you're paying the price of appeasement. That's what the Congress's charge is.
I think that's a completely bogus charge. We're a party which contests elections. We're a party which seeks power. Now, please tell me this bogey of appeasement. Why would we do anything that is not conducive to a larger section of society or tends to alienate a larger section of society? It just does not add to reason. It just does not add up, number one. Number two, the fundamental distinction between us and the BJP is that we don't see victims through the lens of religion. We see victims as victims. And we have to come to the aid of victims regardless of their religion. But Preeti, let me tell you, I've been on your debates for the past couple of years. The BJP is beyond repair. The DNA of the BJP is hate and divisiveness. We can continue to have these eloquent debates. The point is, this is what the BJP stands for. Ultimately, and I say this as a citizen, I'm saying this in the core of my sensibilities, the people of this country have to realize that time has arrived. We need to realize that the BJP is pushing us into this spiral of violence and hate. We have to be mindful that we must repel such forces.
Okay, Adil Singh Bopara, it's all well and good, to put the onus on the people, but the fact is, your own government, till now there has been no confirmation or investigation which points out that the BJP fueled the fire in all of these areas. But for once, if you believe what you're saying, your own government in Rajasthan has made it very clear that you're helpless then. That all you're doing is seeing it happen. You're administratively weak. You cannot control a riot or communal strife. Why should the people of Rajasthan re-elect you?
I'll respond. Preeti, had it not been for the agile administration and the intelligence inputs and the governance of Mr. Gehlot, the situation could have further worsened. Because the BJP wants the situation to worsen. Please understand, what is the BJP's modus operandi? The BJP wants to create a religious divide. This is what they thrive on. Put this question to any BJP person. Can they even deliver a speech for 5 minutes without getting the Hindu-Muslim bogey? All what the BJP stands for is religious polarization. And it's not just 2014. This is their DNA right since the time of Golwalkar and Savarkar. They misled the public in 2017 with their Achhe Din bogey. There is no Achhe Din. The price of fuel, do they ever speak on the real issues? What about employment? What about price rise? Lemons today, my staff member came and told me, sells at 350 rupees. Do they talk about all these issues? No, they don't. Because they have this bogey.
Adil Singh Bopara, it sounds a little bourgeois when you say my staff member came and told me it costs this much. But having said that, I'm going to go back to Tuhin Sinha. Tuhin Sinha, diversionary tactics followed by the likes of the Bharatiya Janata Party. You talk about Hindus, you talk about Muslims, you talk about communal strife, you make bigoted statements. You don't talk about the real issues that are facing the country: inflation, the price of fuel, the lack of jobs.
Preeti, the Congress needs to grow beyond its puerile rhetoric. When you ask them, do they have any evidence to prove that BJP is involved in the riots? They don't have an answer. On the contrary, it is the Supreme Court which has called out the political violence against us in Bengal. I repeat it with responsibility. We have been the biggest victims of political violence both in Bengal and Kerala. And over here, let's stick to the moot point. What was the chief accused in the Baran district riots of Rajasthan doing at the iftar party of Ashok Gehlot? Why is Matloob Ahmed still absconding, a person who was supporting Congress till that day? I think if we stick to these two things, the Congress will be cornered And that is why I began by saying that we have compelling reasons to believe that there is tacit or at times even overt support of the Congress party to the violence that has been happening in Rajasthan.
All right, the violence in Jodhpur, Mr. Sinha, one of the main reasons was at 12 o'clock it was a rumor, unsubstantiated, that was echoed by your mayor, Miss Seth of Jodhpur, that caused a lot of people to reach the square and pull down a flag which was not an Islamic Pakistan flag but an Eid flag. Rumor mongering was from your part as well, and there is proof of that. Adil Singh Boparoy, please respond to what Tuhin Sinha has said. He's made pointed questions, he's asked you, and I'm going to close on that.
I think he should be roped in as an investigator perhaps by the police. But having said this, the point today is, why would the Congress want violence in its own state? Does it stand to reason? Let's put this question. We're a rational human being. Let's put this question to a rational human being who is in power today in a state. Why would he want violence in his state? Who benefits from this violence? There is just one political party which benefits from this violence. There is just one political party which benefits from communal polarization. And the likes, I can give a long list. Their central ministers. Their central ministers deliver inflammatory, hateful and provocative speeches.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, may I just come in? I need to bow out of this debate. Appreciate both of you for joining us, and understandably, this, unfortunately, viewers, will be a debate which will be carried on in days to come. Elections are in order in many states. Rajasthan next year. Before that, other states, and many states, unfortunately, would turn into communal minefields. Will the common citizen, the common man, be able to sidestep this minefield and these mines there? Time will tell.